Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Hayden from Fierce, and today I'm joined by Ankit Jain, the CEO and co-founder of Infinitus.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Of course. Thank you for coming all the way out from San Francisco. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a great show so far.
So our first question is, as science becomes more specialized and markets more competitive, how should commercial teams be adapting their product development and go-to-market strategies to meet evolving stakeholder needs?
One of the things that's fascinating about the current point in time is that we're seeing an unprecedented number of new therapies come to market. We're seeing an unprecedented level of biosimilars come to market. So if you're a commercial leader, being able to stand out in this crowded space is top of mind.
Yeah.
It's about figuring out how you tell a story that feels personal to every patient who has to go on these healthcare journeys. It's about not just one size fit all. It's about one size for every patient. How can you, in our terms at Infinitus, where we build an agentic communications platform, how can you give every patient, their caregivers, their families, personalized services, a personalized experience, and a look around the corner of what's coming next?
Right. And it's interesting. At this conference, I've noticed in a lot of rooms, I've visited a lot of sessions, talked to a lot of people, evolving patient needs has been a really big topic for the conversation. Have you noticed that in your line as well?
Absolutely. And it's not just at this conference, but in general, patients are asking for more because they're feeling like they're getting less than what every other industry is giving them.
Yeah.
They don't want the generic marketing flyer. They want something that tells them, what does getting on an infusion therapy mean for their life? If they're going and they have a self-injectable, but they're going camping next week, how do they take that injection with them? What are the conditions?
Right.
They want to be able to understand if there's 5 different biosimilars, are they truly the same, or should they be going after the branded one?
Right.
And who do they have that conversation with?
Right. That's the big question.
That's the big question.
Yeah.
We recently did a survey of 500 patients of 5 of the most chronic conditions in this country. And what we found was that over 50% of the patients said that they couldn't think of the right questions to ask their provider when they were told their diagnosis. And over 75% of them said that they thought of those questions after hours.
Yeah, of course. Makes sense. When you're laying in bed, that's when your thoughts come to you.
That's
right?
when your thoughts come to you. And where do we go? We go to Dr. GPT or Dr. Google.
Yes, exactly.
But our healthcare system is not available then. Call centers are during business hours.
Right.
We have to change that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fascinating. It's fascinating. So just to kind of follow up on that, we're talking, in regulated workflows, what makes an AI agent trusted, to your point of, when we're waking up at 2 a.m. with these questions, and how is that different from a generic chatbot?
Well, I think the previous generation of technology where you had chatbots, one, were very scripted, so they could only answer very specific things, and you needed to ask them the question in the perfect way, or else they would say, sorry, I cannot answer that question.
Right.
And that's when all of us either yelled agent or press 0 when we talk to them. I think we're at a point in time where technology is natural. You can talk to it, you can ask it at your level of complexity, and it will meet you where you are if designed correctly.
Right.
So the promise of a large language model powered AI agent is real. We're delivering it at scale for 44% of the Fortune 50, 8 of the 10 top manufacturers, 2 of the 5 national payers, for their members, for their HCP partners. But the thing that differentiates us is how we talk about trust and safety. The fact that our agents don't hallucinate, 0 hallucination. The way large language models work is they're predicting what word to produce next, what next token to come out with. And it's important that we don't put something that even 1% of the time says something that's clinically incorrect, because that can lead to a headline, that can lead to a death.
Yeah.
Right. And both of those are not what any of our stakeholders want.
Right.
So a safe agent, a trusted agent, is one that you know where it's coming from. So it's branded with the right entity, one that has the right guardrails from a clinical and administrative perspective, is based in knowledge, and not one that is predictive in nature, and one that can truly still be natural while having those guardrails in place.
Yeah, it's a fascinating conversation. Somebody earlier was saying it's hard to teach AI to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it'll just try and fill the space, right? So I think that's a fascinating piece of that as well.
Yeah, it's important for AI to not only say, I don't know, but let me get the right person for you. Because that's what we do. If someone asks us a question that we don't know, we say, I don't know that, but let me find you the expert in this field to answer that question. And AI needs to learn how to do that as well.
It's fascinating. I love that. So it's a good question here. And where did patients actually drop off in the access journey? And how can agentic communications, as we've been talking about, measurably reduce abandonment without adding to the headcount?
You know, when you look at the care journey from the point when you're given a diagnosis to the point when you're adherent to the therapy that you get on, there's so many points of friction.
Yeah.
And what we hear about are the points of friction where someone truly pounds the table, when things go really bad.
Yeah.
But the ones we don't hear about, which is 90+% of the cases, is when things are bad but not terrible, when someone's not pounding the table for what's wrong. The healthcare system today is fundamentally flawed because it's reactive. We wait for patients, their caregivers, their families to raise their hand instead of being proactive. And I think for the first time in the history of healthcare and technology, we have the building blocks to build a proactive system to check in.
Yep.
You know, I was talking to an oncology group and I asked them, how often after a patient gets on their first infusion, do they call and see how it went? And they said, we hate to admit it, but we don't, because we don't have the staff to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? They're like, we tell them what to expect before. And then if they have an issue, the expectation is they call us and then we triage it and do what needs to happen. But that's an example that happens across every part of the healthcare system where we're waiting for the situation to get terrible.
Right.
If we can get ahead of it, we can keep people on therapy, we can get people on therapy, and we can help families know what's coming around the corner.
Yep. That's the key.
And that's the key.
Yeah. The unknown is the frightening piece of that. So yeah.
When you tell someone they need an infusion, for those of us at this conference, we know what an infusion is. For the average patient, they've never heard that word.
Right. And it's a scary
And it's
sounding
scary.
word. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're going to go into my veins and put something in there. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And it's important to, again, meet patients where they are and be proactive.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Now, I do love this last question here. So how can brands extend high quality support after hours, like we've talked about a little bit, and across languages while maintaining consistency? And how do you measure the CX impact credibly?
You know, our customers tell us that every time they deploy us, they are seeing an increase in quality of between 10 and 15% compared to a human workforce. When we allow them to give 24/7, 365 coverage, suddenly there's a whole set of the population that is reaching out that they were otherwise saying, sorry, our call centers are closed. Call us back during business hours.
Yep.
So you're meeting patients where they are. And the language one's important.
I think so too,
You know, so much of our population speaks in multiple languages. Right. Even for many people that speak English, English is their second language. And they stumble through their conversation in English when they could much better express themselves in a different language. And so sometimes it's not just about speaking to folks in a different language when they don't speak English. It's actually saying, hey, it sounds like a different language might be your preferred language. Should we switch over to that?
Oh my gosh.
And having AI detect that,
it's
and then making it easier for a patient to get what they need, for a member to get what they need, is really powerful.
Yeah, I agree. It's such an intractable problem, it seems. But I think, you're right. AI offers such a good solution for that.
You know, I grew up in India. English was my first language, but I learned Hindi pretty early in my life. And there are certain phrases that I don't know how to say in English. Right. And when I interact with our AI agents and others that are out there, sometimes I say, hey, can I explain this to you in Hindi and then come back to English? And the AI agents say, absolutely. That's really powerful.
That is very powerful. That's fascinating. So just to finish it up, our last question here, if there's one guiding principle you believe every commercialization leader should embrace to deliver both business and patient value, what would you say it is?
You know, I think the most important thing for the next 10 years for commercial leaders in life sciences is to meet the stakeholder where they are, whether it is a patient, whether it's an HCP, whether it's a payer. It's about being able to meet them where they are in the right language, at the right time, in the right channel. It could be voice, it could be text, it could be web, but it's about helping communication of data, of knowledge, all happens seamlessly. And I think for the first time, we have the ability to do that. And we're excited to be part of that story.
Yeah, I love it. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Of course.